Mars, the fourth planet from the Sun, is a dry and barren wasteland, inhospitable to life. This, however, is not Mars. This is the largest desert on Earth, Sahara, an arid, desolate, and mostly lifeless area that spans from the Red Sea in the east to the Atlantic Ocean in the west, and from the Mediterranean Sea in the north to the Sahel in the south. It covers more than 9 million square kilometers, or 31% of the continent of Africa. Putting this in relative terms, the desert is as big as the USA. Like any desert, the Sahara has had a significant influence on life within its borders, but because of its size, the desert's reach extends far beyond, and some of these effects are even visible from space. Today, most of the Sahara is devoid of life, but this wasn't always the case. Believe it or not, the desert actually cycles between periods of humidity and aridity every 20,000 years. One of the main reasons for that is the precession of the Earth's axis, which in turn changes the location of the North African monsoon. As the monsoon position shifts, so does Sahara's rainfall, and with it, the desert turns green. To no one's surprise, the Sahara is currently going through a dry period. It has been expanding during the last 3,000 years and continues to do so today through a process called desertification. As the desert grew, it accumulated enough sand to cover the entire globe with a layer 20 centimeters thick. Because of this vast amount of sand, the Sahara can generate huge dust storms. Such storms can be damaging to human health and can have negative economic impact by eroding soils and damaging crops. Surprisingly, however, they can also have beneficial effects through enriching ecosystems. Out of all places in the world, these are probably best observed in Central and South American rainforests, which receive most of their mineral nutrients through the Sahara dust, which is carried by air currents over the entire Atlantic Ocean. Looking at the size of the desert storms, you might think that the Sahara consists entirely of sand dunes, but this is not the case. The dune fields, some of which rise to 180 meters in height, only cover about 15% of the desert surface. The rest consists of rocky plateaus, mountains, and large oasis depressions. Sahara's highest point, Mount Kosi in Chad, is a dormant volcano which stands at 3,415 meters and despite its altitude, receives little to no precipitation. Sahara's lowest point, on the other hand, Egypt's Qattara Depression, has somewhat of a more interesting story. At a low point of 133 meters below sea level, there have been several proposals to flood the Qattara Depression, which lies within close proximity to the Mediterranean Sea. It was argued that the flooding of the depression could be used to generate power through a hydroelectric turbine while rejuvenating the surrounding desert. However, there are concerns that flooding the area with seawater could lead to a hypersaline lake which would not support a fish population, or a salt pan which could build up to tens of meters and eventually fill up the depression. Regardless of that, people remain optimistic on the plan, and it's not difficult to understand why. Water is essential for life, and nowhere is that more evident than in the Sahara. The desert spans through the territory of 11 countries with a combined population of 300 million, but less than 1% of that actually live in the desert. The areas with the highest concentration of people are near sources of water, which in turn is vital for agriculture. Growing crops elsewhere in the desert is nearly impossible, and where vegetation manages to survive, it is very sparse. On top of that, large regions of the desert are hyper-arid and often receive no rain for years. Despite the lack of rain, however, the Sahara still contains vast amounts of fresh water left over from its humid period, stored in large sedimentary aquifers deep beneath the surface. In recent years, people have found a way to tap into that water, and this is the result. These crop circles, each about a kilometer across, are visible from space and symbolize the success of human ingenuity in the harshest of conditions. The shape of the crop circles is a result of an efficient center pivot irrigation system, which in this case draws water from the Nubian aquifer, which according to estimates contains 150,000 cubic kilometers of water. Despite that, this solution is unlikely to turn the whole Sahara into arable land. The problem with fossil water is that it is a non-renewable resource, and as such, its increased usage would only result in its faster depletion. This in turn would make life impossible for people who rely on it for survival. If you'd like to know more about the Sahara or have any other ideas for a future video, please let me know in the comments below. Before you go, I also want to thank those of you who have already subscribed. At this stage, your support is the main driving force behind the development of this channel. Making these videos is a lot of fun, but it's also time consuming. especially given my day job. Finally, if you haven't done so already, please leave a like and share this video with your friends. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.